Any questions? Yes.
Again, just I know that I think feedback by email and feedback via Bula, I don't know how well that works, but if you have the people in the room and you give them a post-it and say, can you write down one good thing and one thing we can do better, that's two nice questions. You'll get quite a quick thing, and it's nice ideas that can emerge from that, like more wine or whatever. But it's a very quick way of doing it, and it spares all the people that come from the email. So.
True, and we'll do that before the one. Do that.
They kind of snacks unless they give you feedback on person.
No.
If they get the posters, they surprisingly engage with them. It's weird. It's like colorful. I don't know. It's such sweet.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any last thoughts for Greg? Greg, thank you very, very much. And then, of course, now we have the Thompson. I have the privilege of playing a course with Desmond, which I will never forget as experiences go. But he is here to chat to us a little bit about how Massive Open Online course has interacted with organ donation as well. So thank you very much.
So this is a MOOC that we made. This is the landing page, and that's what the course looks like. We try to generate the content. It's not just a talking head with some text next to it. And it was made through SILT with some seed funding. It was the second round of MOOCs that were actually made. And if you want to take that message, well, this is where you go to sign up. But if you Google organ donation in Coursera, then that's where you can get to access the course. Just some background. Organ donation and transplantation is not well taught across South Africa. Who can be a donor? How death is certified? What is the best practice for approaching a family? And what happens when someone donates? There's lots of misperceptions, and we actually have one of the lowest donation rates in the world, about 1.4 donors per million population. Compared to the US, they get about 25. Brazil, our level economy, gets about 14 donors per million. So South Africa is not good. We made all the content Creative Commons to try and expand its place in the world, because we want the content and the message that we're spreading to go further. So you can share it, you just have to attribute an appropriate credit if you alter it. It's hosted on Coursera, and this impacts its place on the world. It's a very robust platform for doing assessments and accrediting people, and it is the largest in the world with a lot of courses. And it's free to audit the course, but you do have to, if you want a course completion certificate, either go through a financial aid application process, which they do just check your IP addresses from a developing world, but they are changing that because they obviously want to generate money. And the course fee is set at $39, which is approximately 500 Rand. And the course design had to be designed from scratch, so I'm thankful for the team from SILT, and we had to come up with a big spreadsheet and plan the weeks. Basically, week 1 focuses on brain death and how do you approach a family for consent, because those two are two prerequisites for donation. Week 2 focuses on donation after circulatory death, so end-of-life care and withdrawing treatment, what happens to the body and how do you make the approach in those circumstances. Week 3 looks at the process of organ donation, and week 4 looks at ethical issues such as organ trafficking, transplant tourism, and some public awareness issues and some systems issues. We can't use satire and say we can just use whatever content we want, like Trevor Noah does. There's nice laws in America that let you use any content. So we had to get our models to pose and stage things. Also, when you look at nice pictures online, you've got to check if you want to share it more widely, then you need to pay Getty Images $5,000 if you want to license this picture as a Creative Commons. So we had to create a lot of content for the course, for which I'm very thankful for the team who did that. And we tried to challenge perceptions because we want to decolonialize our health education system. So our brain dead donor was the cleaner from the trauma unit, but he is large. You would think he's probably got diabetes and hypertension. And the message is that those people can still be donors. In the modern era, we're able to repurpose organs from these patients if they're brain dead. And it comes down to testing and identifying the donors. We also wanted to put a South African spin on it. And focus on the donors who make it possible. Because transplantation doesn't happen unless there's deceased donors and the families who consent to it. And we focused on the rigor of the brain death testing process. We do draw comparisons around the world to make it sort of a worldwide course. And it just lets highlights, because different countries do things in different ways and have different practices. And then we interviewed 4 recipients of one donor from the Eastern Cape that were all transplanted with British. So the course, just in terms of results, was published first time in July. It runs monthly, and we got it endorsed by big societies. It's accredited for CPD points. We did an analysis of 1 year's worth of data using the Coursera analytics. Just to show you, it projects visitors are the visitors to that landing page. Active learners are people who've signed up and have watched at least a second of video. And then you can see that course completers are 242 and payments are 53. You can see the course progression. I top-loaded the course, so the first week is quite tough because brain death and consent, if you bomb out after the first week, which most people do when they do these online courses, then at least I've got my 2 main messages across. The content, Reach Continental, if you look at it, is quite interesting. It's going Asia and Africa quite well represented. Asia does not have good deceased donation either. And on a national level, United States and South Africa, 2 of the largest countries, but India and Egypt are also featuring there. The age group is quite young compared to other MOOCs. So our age group, female majority, and 25 to 34 years old, and also younger audience on the men's side. And the majority of people are not employed full-time, and quite a few of them are students. And then the ratings have been positive. And some of the learner stories are quite interesting. People looking to start programs in the developing world are turning to it as a resource. From Nigeria, from India. This gentleman wanted to resuscitate brain dead patients, and then he did the course and he realized that wasn't possible. So I consider that a success. Going forward, the analytics are very powerful to assess the questions in terms of how many people get a question right first time, do they correct themselves, are they still getting the question wrong. So it's quite good to refine how you write your questions and then to look at your teaching methods. And there's an awful lot of research data being generated, and I've actually had to sit down with a data person just to see how can you analyze the clickstream data, are the students even watching the videos. I think going forward, it really offers a mean to reach a large audience. I have incorporated it into the undergraduate curriculum here at UCT, but I'd like to expand it across the universities in South Africa. But it's difficult on the platform, and you actually need local champions to drive it and make sure that the students sign up. But it's got great potential, and I think it's engaging with the demographic that we want to, developing world and young audience. Thank you to everyone who helped make it. Questions, and if there's 2 minutes left, I can reflect the promo video on you. I don't know how we are for time.
We have 2 minutes left, but I think maybe you would ask
Questions
that
instead.
and I'll
Cool.
attach the promo video to the website. Great. Folks, any questions for Greg, or would you prefer to watch the video? Any questions? Okay. Fantastic.
Video.
I'm not sure if this if you're not working this side.
Oh, we did sound this, didn't we?
In the ever-advancing medical field, the boundary between life and death is more complex than ever before. Invariably, it is entrusted to medical professionals to help clarify the situation at an often confusing and emotionally stressful time. Considering someone for organ and tissue donation at the end of life can seem to complicate things even further and is often avoided. This need not be the case. I'm David Thompson, a critical care specialist and a transplant surgeon at Groote Hospital and the University of Cape Town. Welcome to Organ Donation, From Death to Life, a 4-week course for medical professionals, students, and anyone interested in learning more about organ donation. We've come a long way since the first heart transplant. The number of potential donors is greater than ever before. There are good results from extended criteria donors and donors after circulatory death. And yet the gap between those needing a transplant and the number of organ donors continues to grow. In this course, we will cover how to correctly clinically certify brain death, its history, the mechanism, the testing process, ethical principles in end-of-life care, donation after circulatory death, and the influence of culture, religion, and money on organ donation. We will also go into how best to deal with the grieving family and ask for consent, because without permission, there can be no organ donation. How compassionately we make the organ donation request can influence how likely the family will be to consent in donating their loved one's organs. Every time we don't get it right, an opportunity for potential donation may be missed. A single donor can save up to 10 lives. Up to 60 lives can be profoundly altered by tissue donation. And a donor's family can find great solace from the fact that their tragedy has helped others immeasurably. Come take our course if you're a medical professional, work in the healthcare field, or simply want to be more informed about organ donation. Let us show you how it all happens, what it takes to make it happen, and how we can improve. No one can do everything, but everyone can do something. Let's make a difference.
Thank